Hey guys, it's M, and today we're gonna talk about something current, something that's actually new and isn't a game from like 12 years ago. Today we're gonna be talking about Killing Floor 3. I got this game just to make videos on it because the controversy and all that was crazy. I liked Killing Floor 2. I didn't really know what 3 was gonna be, but the second it came out, this is awful. This is the worst thing ever. I just had to find out for myself, and after playing it for myself for about 12 hours, I want to say at this point, I got my own takes, and I just wanted to talk about them. I have them in bullet point format in front of me, and we're gonna go over those now. The main reason I feel compelled to do this is because I feel some of the content we've got about this game from some of the content creators has been a bit unfair. There was some video, I don't know the guy, I don't hate the guy, but at the start of the video he goes, yeah, I played this for like an hour and I refunded it. Here's my full review. A little crazy, I don't think you would have learned the entire game in an hour. I didn't even really like the game in an hour, and then I kept playing and I learned things. Let's get into the bullet point, shall we? Launch with 6-player crossplay and VC. This is crazy. You know how many games you'll play and they'll either just not have crossplay at all, or they will have crossplay, but the voice chat doesn't work? This game has that. That is just an amazing feature, and I really don't know what else to add on to that. Even if you don't bang with the game now, if it gets better later, this is a really good thing to start with. Abilities being unlocked every 2 levels and item collection. I really love this addition. The thing is with Killing Floor 2, I can't really go back to 1. I didn't personally play 1. But in 2, unless you hit level 5, there wasn't really that much for you to check. I guess you could check the vault, but even then you're only gonna get skins from there. This new system that they have, it gives you something to go back and go, I've unlocked this, and oh, I guess I can use my level up points to upgrade this perk, and I can use these items to make this mod. It's nice. It's a constant level up feedback reward system, and I just kind of like it better than Killing Floor 2's. I know that might be a blasphemous statement. I don't have to wait as long to get some sort of reward to improve my kit, if you understand. The mod system. I think the mod system is great. It gives you incentive to defeat these bosses, defeat the enemies, and then you can play around and customize your weapons with whatever you want. They even have this little RNG rolling system on the mod parts you get to have certain bonus effects when you get them to level 3. It's just a nice system. Again, like I said in the last little bit, it gives you something to work towards, something to upgrade constantly. If you're not leveling up, you can work on your mods, and you can trick out the weapons however you need them to be. I just think it's cool. It's a little limited for now because there's not that many weapons as we're going to get into, but it's a neat system. No crate system. I understand people feel very strongly about the battle pass, and I think if you look at it in the modern gaming sense of every game having a battle pass, then that is bad. But in thinking about Killing Floor, especially Killing Floor 2, I love this change, and if it stays like this and they don't pull the shit they did in 2, I'm fine with it. I don't know if you guys remember, the crates, unless you were opening the Dodge crates, any new cosmetics they released, or any weapon skins they released outside of the Dodge crate, you had to buy a key for a random chance to get something in the box. It was a miserable system that they made to just milk money out of people who want cosmetics, because you can't choose which one in the box that you're going to get. It sucked. And then I also don't know if we remember, Killing Floor 2 was making us buy guns that we used to get them every update, and then all of a sudden it slowed down. We started getting these HRG guns, which were just reskins of other guns with different functions. And then you look in the store, they did make 2 new weapons for $6 or $10. It was some crazy price. So I don't mind this battle pass thing. I don't mind it from them. Would I rather everything just be in the game and I can unlock everything? Sure. But being realistic in the kind of gaming space we're in, I like this way more than the Killing Floor 2 systems to milk you dry. The art style. This one is a little bit of a hot take, and I can understand that. The thing is with Killing Floor 2 is it did have an identity when you saw it. It didn't look like every other zombie shooter. It had this kind of cartoonish but not really vibe. The zombies looked very distinct and different from generic horror zombies because they were a bit goofy. This game went for a bit of a grittier tone, and I do like that, but it also made it a bit more generic. The colors I wouldn't say are very vibrant here. So while I personally like the grittier design choice and some of the design choices for the enemies, as we're going to get to in a second, I can understand why people don't like this new direction of we've stepped away from from all the cute cartoonish or somewhat cartoonish designs of 2, and then we went to, if you look at a glance, this could be a COD map in 3. Gadgets. I love the gadgets. I really don't know what else to say about them. They just open up a lot of little gameplay things that you couldn't really do in 2. The shock traps, the ultrasonic traps that confuse the enemies, the multi-tool. I like that stuff. I think it's just a cool little addition to the gameplay. Something that spices it up and it's not super crazy. No matter how you feel about the rest of the changes to the game, I feel this is pretty standard. This feels like just an upgrade and a little addition to the systems they already had. New enemy designs. Like I said in the overall design segment, I think the new enemy designs are just good. The special enemies look a lot more special. I'm gonna mix these 2 points because the special enemies were my second point on this. But let's start small. The cysts and the crawlers and all of them, they look creepy. Like I said, they do look a little bit more generic horror monsters, but they look kind of unsettling. There's one enemy type, I think they're the Alpha Clot. I'm not sure, not the armored one, but the ones that weren't just the normal cysts that run at you. They look really good. They look kind of uncomfortable. The crawlers do too, the cysts do too. The bloats don't look as goofy. They didn't look fully goofy in 2, but here they look creepy and kind of scary. I like it. I like it. The husks look cool. The sirens look amazing. Like I was saying, now that we've covered all the little guys, the special enemies look very special now. I don't know if you guys have seen the Stalker design that they leaked. It looks amazing. It looks very creepy. It kind of takes me to Dead Space. The Sirens design, it stands out a lot more than the old one. The old one, it was a tiny little character. Yeah, she did look like a unique individual. You could make her out in a crowd, but now it is very, very standout. The Husk, pretty much the same thing. The Husk is a little crazy in this game. The special enemy abilities also got tuned up. That was part of the next point, so let's just move into that. The Siren, she can throw off your aim. She has like these little jump scare things. All of the specials feel like a lot more of a threat here, right? The Scrake, before he would run at you and slash, and then he'd get mad and run a little faster. That was it. Now they have this dodgeable hook that makes them a really interactive fight. And I understand some people may not like it. If you're trying to run and one of them does that, it can be annoying. But if you're facing them and you're shooting down and then you see them go for the grapple and you dodge it, it feels nice. It is a satisfying thing to do. The Siren, before she would just run up and scream and that was kind of it. Now she can shoot her little projectiles that mess with the screen, or she still does her scream, but it has a lot more wind up to it. I think it's neat. The Husk is probably the most controversial one. I think if you've played the game, you know the Husk is a little nuts. They can pop shots like mortars, kind of like how Patriarch used to do in 2, which can hit you from pretty much anywhere, which is kind of annoying. They can blast you from really far. I think the shots that they have in this game are faster than the ones in 2 by a good margin. Overall, they're a lot more threatening. I like it. I can understand why people say it's a bit ridiculous. The second you see one jump on top of a building and then start shooting down at you, that's kind of annoying. And the mortar shot hitting you from practically across the entire universe is pretty annoying. But getting used to the game, I didn't think it was that bad. The Flesh Pounds, I would say, stayed mostly the same. Design-wise, they got upgraded so their arms aren't just normal arms. They have like these chain things to them. So they'll run up to you and instead of just punching you, which sometimes they will still do, they can like unlatch their arms and swing them forwards. Really cool addition. And what I really like is that a lot of the moves that the enemies have, they have, I'm gonna word this in the best way I know how to. They have Tekken 8 Fakuram tracking. So if you see an enemy swing and he's swinging in a straight line, if you dodge, it is not going to track. If you dodge at the wrong time or you dodge too early, I believe it does, but if you dodge just before the swing hits, they will swing straight and it feels great. I love when that happens. If they're doing a far swing, you dodge to the side. If they're doing a close swing or a little fast swing, you dodge backwards and you'll be fine. It's a nice little system and I think it goes overlooked by quite a few people. A lot of moves that the specials have are dodgeable. No, well, let me not say that. All of the moves they have are dodgeable now. It's nice to have that little quick burst of speed. In Killing Floor 2, sometimes you get caught by something weird and you would just be caught. To be fair, the enemies didn't move as fast in that game, and you know, the Scrake didn't have his little grappling hook hand. But if something's coming at you really fast, it's satisfying to hit one button and hit a little quick dodge. Yeah, you could step to the side and dodge in Killing Floor 2, but I like this a little bit more. Finishers. Finishers is an interesting system, because when I first saw it, I was not a fan of it at all. I was scared that we had turned the game into Doom Eternal. We already had the dodge, I mean, now we got the finishers. Was that a finisher in my Killing Floor 2? Was that a Doom Eternal finisher in my Killing Floor? But that's not what they did. You can only do finishers on the Scrake and the Flesh Pound. There's only one animation for both, and that might sound lame. However, I don't mind it because it serves a more practical purpose in the gameplay. In Killing Floor 2, if there was a Scrake or a Flesh Pound, usually you'd want to take out all the small guys first if you didn't want to deal with them, and then you would focus the big guy. There was no real incentive of killing the big guy immediately unless you just wanted to get him out of the way and you didn't mind dealing with the little scraps around. But in this game, if you manage to down one of them and you do a finisher, it kills all the enemies around them. This will kill every trash mob, I want to say. Pretty much up to the Husk and the Siren it'll kill. And that is very good. It promotes targeting the bigger targets and still being able to deal with the smaller targets at the same time. It's a cool addition. The only thing about the finishers is I think they're missing a little bit of punch. I don't mind the Flesh Pounds too much, but I feel like the Scrakes could use a slight amount of screen shake or something, especially when you bring him down onto the chainsaw. A small little addition. It's something that can be fixed. Enemy finishers. These are just when an enemy downs you. Because there's a down system, I honestly should have wrote this in the positive, so let me just say it now. Instead of just immediately dying like you did in Killing Floor 2, you get down, which is nice. And there's a few ways to pick people up from down. If you walk up to them and hold the button, that'll pick them up. But if you heal them, this will also pick them up. So if you're playing something like the Field Medic and you shoot the healing shots at someone, they'll still get picked up. This is a nice little addition. I have some friends, and one of them, he might go down often. And instead of just immediately getting ragdolled, I can go and pick him up. It's a cool little system. Now, the enemy finishers, I don't think they serve a super important purpose, but it's nice to see that these zombies are a threat. It's nice to see what these guys are doing to normal people, just to see them show their power in a sense. Because I feel like with these games, these shooter games where you kill a ton of these enemies all the time, it is very easy to forget that these are monsters that are killing average people pretty easily. When you see the finisher, it's like seeing a glimpse of what they were possibly doing. The Crawler has one of my favorites. He just eats you. The Chimera like straight squishes you. The basic zombies will bite you. I think every enemy in this game has a finisher. I haven't seen them all, but I've seen enough from enough different kinds of zombies that I get the feeling that they do. It's just a neat little add-on. Removing enemy limbs affects them in combat. This is nice. This is something I did not expect, and no one mentioned it because they were too busy saying the game is completely awful with no positives. If you remove an enemy's limb, they cannot use it. The best example of this is if you're fighting a Scrake and you're playing the Ninja or something. I feel like they most commonly get the benefit of this addition. If you cut off the grappling hook arm, they can't use it. That attack is just completely nulled. So if you really hate that attack, you can just knock that arm off. You can knock the arms off of the Flesh Pounds too. It's a lot harder, but I saw it once and I couldn't believe my eyes. If you're fighting the basic zombies, you can chop them in half and they might still live it, but they can't stand up and run after you. They have to slowly crawl towards you. This is a cool thing that I didn't expect in my Killing Floor game. It's neat. New bosses and boss designs. This kind of goes into the I like the grittier aesthetic they're going for. The bosses in Killing Floor 2 were very not super serious. Patriarch is cool. Hans is cool. I like them, but I like them for different reasons than these new guys. These new guys look like bio accidents. They look like something you would fight in Resident Evil. They're kind of fleshy, they're kind of gross, and I kind of like that. The Chimera has my favorite design, but the Alpha Crawler and the Impaler, they're not that far behind. They just look cool. They look like cool big monster zombie guys. I can't say I hate them. Explosive barrels and things just really fit the game. Yeah, this is a simple point. When they added explosive barrels that you could hit and it would just blow up, obviously, it felt like such a natural addition to the gameplay that I didn't even really process it was a new addition. It's just something that it slots in perfectly with what you're going to be doing. The only complaint I have with them is the explosion that comes off of them isn't very convincing. Yeah, the enemies will blow up and the blood will splatter everywhere, but the explosion itself just doesn't look that strong. Again, it's something that can be fixed. You throw some particles in there, nice little explosion effect, it's done. But cool add-on. I'm sick of saying that, but all these little things that I've been talking about I think are cool add-ons. The new movement, I kind of touched on this with the dodging, but I didn't really like the new movement for the first hour. This is why some of those reviews where they go, I played it for a little bit and then I refunded it. It's why I can't take those super seriously. I did not like the movement of this game at first at all. I didn't like the dodge. I didn't like the slide. It just was not clicking for me. And then I played more and more, and it just started feeling natural. I think the thing is, I was playing it like I was playing Killing Floor 2, and in Killing Floor 2, you just ran around and walked. That was it. But when I started playing it more as its own thing, it made it feel a lot better. I wish that the slide was a bit better. It doesn't really carry momentum. It is a cool little movement tool, but it just feels awkward sometimes. When you slide, you get momentum when you slide down the stairs. You will slide all the way down in some little mounts. When you end the slide, all the momentum just stops, and that's not how sliding works, and it feels kind of weird. I don't want to say make it so the slide is good and you can add like bunny hopping and stuff. I don't know if this game needs that. I think if you move that fast normally with the little slide, then you might have a problem. But at least when you're sliding down mounts and stairs, let's up that a little bit. You feel me? The other thing is some mounts, if you're sliding down them, they don't work. I'm guessing that there's some kind of hitbox or hurtbox code over the steps or the mounds that makes it slidable like that, and some of those just don't have that code on them. It's a little change that they need to make. But overall, I think the movement allows for a lot more interesting gameplay across all the classes. It's really interesting to play some of the faster classes. I don't know why I'm saying that. It's really interesting to play Ninja, because Ninja's the only class with movement, because we don't have the Gunslinger yet. But overall, it feels nice to play Commando. One of my biggest problems with Commando is that he was slow as shit. So you would be sitting there shooting at something, and then something would run up to you, and you better annihilate it in 2 seconds, or else he's gonna get dinged up quite a bit. In this game, with the little small movement change of being able to dodge and slide, you can avoid a lot of hits if you're just good at timing those things. It feels great. I'm very curious how Gunslinger's going to handle, and maybe even more upgraded Ninja, because I don't have that guy fully maxed out. But the movement for normal classes feels good. So when you get to the movement for the movement guys, again, exclusively Ninja right now, it feels good. It feels good to dodge. It feels good to slide around attacks. It just feels nice. When you get that peak dodge, it hits. I understand why some people go, this is Killing Floor, what do I have a dodge for? But I personally, if we're adding additions to the game, I do not mind this addition. If I look at it by itself as a new entry in a series that is trying to add things, I don't mind this change that much. No more limited flashlight. This is something that I doubt most people would even notice, but in Killing Floor 2, the flashlight had a limited battery to it, and it would recharge over time anyway, so it wasn't even a limited resource. It was something that was in the game just to be kind of annoying, in my opinion, and now you have unlimited flashlight, which is really nice. If we kept the old flashlight system, I would be crying. This game is a lot darker than Killing Floor 2 is. Again, it's not as cartoonish with a lot of its color palettes and area design. So there's some parts that are dark, and some parts you would want a flashlight for, and that helps. It's the best way to put it. Okay, now that we're past the glazing section, I don't even know if I prefaced that, but that was meant to be the section of stuff I really liked. Let's get into the stuff that I don't exactly love. The menu being a still image. I don't know why they decided when you open the game, it would open on a still of a flesh pound. The menu when you're watching the guys in the contraption that's just shifting the Zeds around, that's cool, but the opening shot being a PNG of a Zed, it's a weird first opening. It's odd, and it's interesting because I think the menu theme is really good here. Unironically, I think it's gas. But a little bit of motion, maybe make the flesh pound breathe a little bit. It'd be cool. It'd be cool. I feel like a lot of people who came in wanting to hate the game would see that and go, they couldn't even animate the start. Like, what am I gonna do? This game sucks. Weapon variety. There are not really any weapons that jumped out to me like the Killing Floor 2 weapons did. This opinion has changed a bit since I initially wrote out this. I like the Killing Floor 3 weapons. Some of them feel really good. Visually, a lot of people pointed out that in Killing Floor 2, the dude who made it, like the CEO or whatever, was a gun nut, so that's why there were so many realistic guns. The guns in this game, design-wise, I won't remember them. I guarantee you if I close the game for long enough, I wouldn't be able to tell you what they are. A lot of them, I don't even really know the names of. I know, like, the Stormbringer, I think that's the final commando weapon, but visually it's kind of a little vomit in my brain. In Killing Floor 2, one of my favorite weapons was the Riot Shield, where you had the Glock and you would stick it through the little opening in the shield. There were a lot of quirky little weapons like that I feel were fun to play at, like fun to use and fun to control. Killing Floor 3, it doesn't have that many weapons off launch, which is fine, but a lot of these weapons I'm not going, this is that super satisfying Killing Floor 3 weapon. To be fair, I think the final weapons, like the final weapons in the class, they feel good because they can shred through things fast, but they just don't have that super strength that I feel like the Killing Floor 2 weapons did, in my opinion. Some of them are fun to use, but they just don't feel as iconic. No real reason to switch or hold another gun, let alone you can barely afford another. Yeah, I think this is more so a single player thing. In multiplayer, I didn't really have this issue, but in single player, I felt like just managing what I had was costing so much that I couldn't buy another final tier gun. And the thing is, once you get your final tier weapon for your class, like the third gun, because there's only 3 primaries per class, I believe, there's not really a reason to use any other weapon unless you think you're gonna run out of ammo. So a lot of times, I'm sure even in the footage you're seeing in the background, I'm using one gun and then I get the final tier weapon and then I only use that. It just feels like the sensible thing to do because I now have a super strong weapon that does everything and has decent ammo capacity. I'm obviously only going to use that because it is the strongest option provided for me, you know? Low feedback in general. Some of the things in this game, I don't think it's as bad as people frame it to be, but I would be lying if I said it wasn't an issue on some things. The bash feels really weirdly limp, and it's odd because if you hit someone with it, it does decent damage. If you hit a bash on something's head, it'll still probably kill the basic thing. I even had one game where I did a bash and I knocked a flesh pound completely on his back. It threw me off. But there's not like a ton of controller rumble or a satisfying screen shake to certify that you landed that hit. It's weird. Like I said, the scrape finish, I feel like it could use a little bit of screen shake or something. It's small little stuff like that. There's some small animations that I feel could use a bit more punch, maybe a tiny bit of motion shake, maybe a tiny bit more controller vibration, something like that, just to give them a bit more impact. I don't feel as strongly about this as I did when I initially started, but I still think it could use a little bit of punching up in that aspect. The character's not very charismatic and kind of annoying. My opinion kind of changed on this a little bit. The characters in this game, I just don't feel an affinity for at all. The cast in Killing Floor 2, I thought they were a little bit annoying too, but they were quirky. I could see these characters and go, yeah, that's that guy, that's this character, this is their funny little one-liner. I could see you liking pretty much all of the cast there. In Killing Floor 3, not really. I think Foster is probably the most interesting character, and that's because he came back. The other ones just feel like, I don't know, caricatures. They feel like stand-ins. Like the engineer, I love his ultimate. The character, flatbread. The medic, I like the medic. Character, flatbread. We're going to come back to this point somewhat later, but I just don't feel that strongly about the characters. Even the traitor, I don't hate her. She feels very generic in this game, and in comparison to Killing Floor 2, where both the patriarch and the normal traitor lady were talking to you, they had charm to them. I liked those guys. Hearing them back in some old footage I had of Killing Floor 2, I was like, Ah, yes, there they are. Those are my goats. I don't feel that about the Killing Floor 3 lady. I'm hoping that eventually I don't feel that way. I know they're adding DJ Scully. I imagine most people, once they delink the perks from the characters, are going to play Foster and DJ Scully just because the new characters are so But here's hoping, honestly. Maybe I'll end up liking these characters. Maybe it's just too soon for me to say. As someone who's got most of the classes to level 10 and has had a good amount of time to play as them, I can't really say I care about them. There's no Hector in this game. If you saw my Zombie Army review, I loved Hector. Hector was one of my favorite characters in fiction. He was just such a charming, quirky little guy. I do not feel that for any of these characters. I feel like generic engineer guy, generic medic guy, generic quirky fire lady. I don't even know their names. So that's how it is. That's how it is right now. Every game can only be 7 waves. No short, long, or endless. I don't know why this isn't a thing. Honestly, this is the one point where I can just straight up go, how did you let that slide? I don't think that's that hard of a thing to implement. What I do like about the waves, however, and this is something I didn't bring up in the positives because I just kind of forgot about it when writing these bullet points. If you played Killing Floor 2 and you did endless, you might remember that in endless sometimes you would get random modifiers. That is just in the base game now, and I do like that change. It adds a little bit of spice, but the fact that there's no short, long, or endless modes is kind of goofy. I do not really like that at all. I'm sure they're going to add it over time. Maybe it'll be in this first patch that they're going to release where they say they're going to do a little bit of care to the game, but I don't even really know what else to say about it. I feel for the most part it explains itself. Classes don't feel that different anymore. This is more of a take towards the start of the game. Once you start to level them up a bit more, I understand this goes for Killing Floor 2, but the thing is in Killing Floor 2 is that the weapons felt unique to the classes. In this game, I feel most classes could run most other weapons from the other classes and they would be fine. A lot of those unique weapon bonuses do not apply to this game, and I feel that's why I wrote this point. I do still see where Past Me was coming from when he said this. Once you level them up, the characters do feel different. Ability-wise, passive-wise, there's certain things you're going to do as one character you're not going to do as another. But when it comes to the weapon identity of the classes, it is not really there. Berserker and Field Medic are probably the safest. Nah, let me just say Berserker. I mean Ninja, right, Ninja. Because Ninja is the melee weapon guy and a lot of his perks revolve around melee weapons. But if you're playing Commando and you want to use the medic weapon, there's nothing really stopping you. There's no level 5 perk that is faster reloading on only your perk weapons or plus damage on only your perk weapons. You could pretty much use whatever you want. You could most likely just run Commando weapons on Sharpshooter and you would be fine. You could run Commando weapons on the Field Medic and you would be fine. You could run the Field Medic weapons on Commando and you would be fine. The weapon identity to these classes is not really there in as much pronouncedness as it was in KF2. That's the best way I can explain what I'm trying to say. Mantling is a bit janky at times and will get you killed. Yeah, it feels like if you want to mantle something, you have to be looking at the top of it. So there have been times where I'll get knocked into a weird corner by the boss and I'll go to mantle and my character just goes, no, I'ma just hop. There's one clip, I'm sure I still have it, where I got knocked into a corner by the Chimera and I was trying to jump over this little fence thing in front of me and it just refused to let me do it and I died. That's annoying. That doesn't happen that often. At least not to me anymore. It happened a bit more at the start. Maybe I just kind of accepted it and adapted, but it could be fixed. Sometimes you'll see bodies despawn right in front of you. I never really noticed this in Killing Floor 2. They were very good and subtle with that kind of thing. But in Killing Floor 3, even in singles, sometimes I've just seen a body just right in front of me, just despawn. Speaking on this point, I've also noticed in multiplayer, a lot of the enemies will just A-pose and then fall back and die. It's weird. I don't know why that's a thing. That didn't really happen in Killing Floor 2. In Killing Floor 2, the enemies would just ragdoll from what I remember. But in this game, I can recall multiple moments, especially in the 6-player multiplayer, where the enemies will just get their heads popped off and they go into default A position and fall backwards. It's a bit odd. It can be fixed. Maybe it has something to do with the game looking better. It's running a a lot more particles and all that stuff, and they needed some quick way to just have the guy die. But it's something you'll notice if you play enough. Scrakes don't seem to have a falling animation. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I've just had multiple times where enemies will be chasing me, the Scrake will get bumped or something, and he'll just A-pose for a second. It's a little goofy. Again, not the craziest bug, but it looks silly right now. Auto aim seemingly not being toggleable. I don't know why this is like this on console, at least. I don't know if it's on PC, but on console they have auto aim and you can't cut it off unless I've just missed it in the settings. It's just not an option. Can we fix that? Can that come out in the first patch? Cause that's kind of goofy. I don't know why it's like that, and I would love to see them change that fact. What I have to mention, this is a segment of stuff I've seen people complain about, and if I don't talk about it, I'll feel weird and like I didn't complete the conversation. Characters having ultimates and get out of jail free cards. I do not mind the characters' ultimates. Some of them do feel like, oh, I'm just gonna instantly kill everything around me. But the more I've played on harder and like Hell on Earth, it can help. Don't get me wrong, it will help you wipe out certain special enemies. But in this game where the enemies have been souped up, I don't mind the fact that the players have been souped up as well to deal with those threats. It just doesn't bother me that much, especially when you're playing someone like Ninja. Ninja has a very quirky ultimate where he pulls out the grapple and he just blows up everyone near him. It's got a smaller, shorter cooldown than the others, and you have 2 casts of it, or 2 uses of it. Characters like that, I don't really see that as a problem. Commando, I don't really see it as a problem. Maybe for Engineer it is, but I would say the classes that can blow everything back immediately and get the enemies off of them tend to not have the strongest ults. Like Engineers most likely will not kill a Flesh Pound unless you have the modifier that specifically makes it do more damage, and to do that you have to move slower, so it's a trade in the first place. So yeah, I don't really mind the ultimates. I think it's a cool addition into the gameplay. I can understand why you wouldn't like it because it's not what Killing Floor 2 did, but as an upgrade, again, in addition to the series where we're trying to add new stuff, I don't mind this that much. Performance. I've heard people complain about the performance of this game. I've had some times where the frames drop, not even that crazy, maybe to like 30 or something. It's not been an issue for me. I can't really say that much on it. On single player, I've had a pretty great time overall, and even multiplayer with 6 people, it just hasn't really dropped like that. I'm sure they'll work on it over time for all these other people. Let me specify, I've been playing on PS5, base PS5, not Pro or whatever, but it just hasn't been a problem for me. I hope they fix it for everyone else, but I've been fine. New healing system. A lot of people feel strongly about the new healing system, which is shocking to me. I liked it too, but the thing is with Killing Floor 3 is you have to remember, they start you off with full body armor in this game, and I feel if you had that and then the recharging syringe, you might just never die. You might just not be in any threat at all. I feel the new healing system promotes a more tactical approach to these things. You can't just run around forever and then get your syringe back and heal. You have to be tactical with your heals or else you're going to run out and die. Even with the medic weapons, I do like the fact that they don't have infinite shots anymore either. So you have to prioritize when to heal people or when it's the right thing to do. I don't mind this change. It is definitely a change. If you don't like it, that's your preference. But me personally, I think it promotes a more tactical play style that you didn't really have to do in 2. If you ever played Survivalist in 2, you would understand what I mean, because the syringes there, they recharge so fast. I believe theirs recharged 53% faster than every other classes in the game. They were damn near unkillable. It was crazy. Having to know when to use your syringes and the game just not going on forever because one guy has to run around in circles for like 10 hours, popping syringes every 2 seconds. It's nice. I like it. Perks being locked to characters. I understand why people care about this. I don't, and I think this really goes back into the thing of I don't really like the characters like that. I understand people like Foster. He's cool. I don't care about any of the other characters. So us being able to move perks around to different people, I don't care. I don't like them in the first place for that to be a change that I need to see right now. I use the character that does the thing that I want, but when they change it, I'm not going to be torn up about the change of being able to switch perks around between characters. Having to walk to the Beetle for missions, you can do everything else at the menu, but you have to walk to the Beetle if you want to go, you know, start the mission. This doesn't bother me that much. The walk is not that long. It is like less than 10 seconds away. If you ever played Trepang, the walk from the mission table to the mission is longer than walking to the Beetle in this game. I just don't think it's that much of a problem. Could they add a button where you can just ready up and wait for the others from where you're standing? Sure. Does it bother me the way it is right now? Not really. Limited maps, this just doesn't bother me. I really don't know what else to say. The game just came out. It's not going to have as many maps as Killing Floor 2. It already has a decent handful in my opinion. I want to say it has like 10 or something. I don't mind the fact that there's not like 20 maps off rip of the game, personally. I don't really know what else to add to this point. Art style being different, less vibrant than 2. Some people don't like the fact that it's desaturated, and like I said, I do think at a glance it's a lot more generic. Even if you just, I don't know, look at the game, it doesn't look as unique as Killing Floor 2 did, but we wanted a more grittier direction. I remember people saying they wanted them to go back to the Killing Floor 1 style of grit, and we're doing that in a more modern kind of way. The graphics have evolved since Killing Floor 1, and I feel like this is what that kind of game would look like nowadays. I don't really mind it, like I said earlier. I like Killing Floor 2's unique kind of cartoony art style. Some of the zombies looked really goofy in Killing Floor 2, and that was why you would recognize them. Here, they're scarier, and that makes them a bit more generic because a lot of things want to be scary. It's the price I feel you have to pay. Either you want it to be grittier, or you want something more unique, like something like, this is a wild comparison, but something like Clash or Killing Floor 2 or something like that, where it's a unique kind of colorful kind of weird art style. Classes being removed, I don't mind the classes being removed because you would have to add ultimates and all that for all these characters, and I feel that's why all the classes didn't come back. We don't have Demolitionist, we don't have Survivalist. I guess technically you don't have Berserker because they're ninja now. We don't have Gunslinger, stuff like that. I don't really mind it. I imagine they're going to get added over time, and honestly, I don't mind them taking their time with the classes because I don't know if you guys played Killing Floor 2. I don't know when you guys started Killing Floor 2, but a lot of the classes were busted. Berserker had to be reworked like every other update because of how strong he was. Survivalist was dog shit, and now I'd argue they might be too strong. Field Medic is still the strongest class in that game. You can fight me on that. They are broken. They have been broken. They have been reworked multiple times, and they are still broken. Sharpshooter fell behind multiple times and also got reworked a lot. Pretty much every class in that game had to be reworked multiple times because they either fell behind or became too strong. Even at the end of the game's lifespan, like I said, the Field Medic and the Survivalist still feel really strong. So them taking their time to make the classes not feel as separated from each other when it comes to how good they are, I don't really mind that. I still remember being a young lad trying to play Survivalist online before they gave them the syringe buff and all that, and they just fell behind so much. I remember people complaining about how weak Survivalist was. So if we're taking our time, slowing down, trying to bring the classes together and abilities, I don't really mind that too much. The Field Medic is still really strong. I don't really know how you make a class about healing people in a game with limited resources not feel strong. It's a lot closer to the rest of the cast than I feel it was in 2. Bosses being removed, mainly Patriarch. Yeah, people don't like the fact that Patriarch's gone. Patriarch specifically, I feel, is a main face of Killing Floor, so the fact that he's not here is a little weird. But again, after Killing Floor 2, he was talking and all that. Like, all the bosses in Killing Floor 2 were shit talking you. And if we're going in a more gritty direction, like again, people wanted them to go back to with Killing Floor 1 and all that, I don't mind the monsters being monsters and not quirky guys that are shouting one-liners. Not like, I don't personally mind it too much. I understand why people are upset about it, mainly him. I imagine people aren't torn up about Abomination being missing. But I understand him, but I imagine even if they do add him eventually, which they most likely will, I'm sure you remember in Killing Floor 2, they added a lot of those bosses over time. Like, I remember Abomination being added with Krampus and King Fleshpound getting added at some point, and then Matriarch being the final boss. I remember those guys coming out, and I am pretty sure that with this game, we're going to get bosses over time. If you wanted to re-add someone like Patriarch, you're going to have to rework his kit at least a little bit and rework his character and what he looks like. So them taking their time with him, I don't really mind that much. The others, I don't really care that they're gone. I'm sorry. The unique guys in 3 I like a lot more than some of the guys in 2. They've grown a place in my heart for sure. Again, we've been playing Killing Floor 2 for like 10 years at this point, I want to say, or very damn near close to 10 years. So obviously there's a little bit of charm, or like, what's the word I'm looking for, bias that I have towards them. But if we're moving towards the grittier, cooler guys that aren't popping one-liners and burping and whatever. I don't mind the Chimera and the Impaler and the King Crawler or Queen Crawler. I just think they're neat. And the Z time change. The Z time change is something that I just feel is a difference. I don't say it's a downgrade. Instead of just it going off randomly at times, you have a bar over your head, and when the bar fills up, you go into Z time. I just think it's neat. I think it's neat that you don't have to guess. Yeah, the Z time, it doesn't happen as often, but the trade is, it lasts a lot longer in this game on average. The only thing that I guess would compare is Commando, because Commando could make Z time go on stupidly long in Killing Floor 2. But this, you can kind of strategize around when it's gonna pop, or like if you're against a boss and you need to reload or get some time for yourself, you can strategize when to hit that Z time in order to do some of the stuff you want to do. It lasts longer, and that's the trade for it not being as frequent. Overall, I don't see this as that much of a problem. But that's been all the bullet points I wrote down. I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. A lot of people are saying this game is dog shit. It's the worst thing ever. I feel like if you strongly attach it and you want it to just be Killing Floor 2 again, you're probably not going to like this game. It's very different. But if you look at it as an addition to a game about killing hordes of zombies, I don't think it's that bad. I honestly feel the more I've played it, and I've heard this sentiment quite a few times, the more I played it and the more I got used to it as its own thing, the more that I was like, oh, okay, this isn't actually that awful. This isn't the worst thing ever. This isn't the wet diarrhea I took after eating Taco Bell. It's neat. It's different. It's got flaws. It just came out, and I know this is a game they're going to work on over time because they've done that with the other two, but I don't think it's completely awful. Do I think it's worth 40? Maybe, honestly. If you have enough friends, 6-person cross-play co-op is pretty nice. I'm not going to lie to you. But with that, I've said my piece. As long as you're respectful in the comments, I'm glad to talk with you, and I've been M, and I am out.